In Extraterrestrial, a man wakes up in the apartment of the girl of his dreams just as aliens invade Earth.
Mira, Carlos, este es...
Julio.
Mantengan la calma y permanezcan en sus hogares.
I was looking forward to seeing Extraterrestrial because I was a fan of Nacho Vigalondo, the director's previous feature film Time Crimes. I didn't know anything at all about Extraterrestrial other than that he directed it, but now having seen it, I have to say that it does have a similar style to Time Crimes, sort of the humor and maybe the awkwardness, I guess. It does have a lot of funny bits, but overall, I thought it was a little bit too slow and too dry for me to really get into. So first off, the plot, it's, I think, funny overall, and I can appreciate the movie as a whole. I can appreciate the whole situation. Basically, this guy wakes up in an apartment and he sees the girl that I guess he hooked up with the night before, and he, I guess, falls in love with her, sort of, or he thinks it's the girl of his dreams, whatever, and they go out and they see a UFO up in the sky in the city, and he decides to take advantage of the situation in order to end up with the girl. So I can appreciate that. That's an interesting and clever idea. And like I said, there are a lot of funny parts, but overall, I think there's too much downtime in between good parts, I guess you could say. And so ultimately, it just never really hooked me. There was one part where I was into it, and I will explain that in a little bit of a spoiler section coming up, but I really just never got into it. It never dragged me in, and I think that's because every time it almost started to, it died down and sort of let me get out of it. So I was kind of just on the outside looking in for most of it. Directing-wise and visually, like I said, this had the feel of Time Crimes in a way. I can't really put my finger on why exactly because they're different movies, but I could feel that it was the same director, you know? And obviously that makes sense because it is the same director. But I'm just saying that anyone that's a fan of Time Crimes will appreciate that, I think. And I have to say there were definitely some interesting things in this movie, especially how they could only see a certain part of the UFO, and then they put it on the TV, which I thought was cool on its own, that they were watching it on the TV from a camera, but then when he drew the rest of the UFO, that was really, really cool. That is an awesome image right there, and I love that. And finally, acting, I have to explain briefly that I can't fully appreciate the acting or explain how I feel about the acting because whenever I watch a foreign film like this, it's a little bit hard for me to tell if they are delivering the lines well or if they're not delivering the lines well at all, and so it's hard for me to gauge that, especially in a movie that is relatively light. You know, in an emotional movie, I can see like, okay, that guy is clearly sad, and I can feel that. But in this movie, it's a pretty light movie throughout. It's a light comedy for the most part, and so there's nothing really to tell me if someone was really good or really bad, but I will say that everyone seemed fine, and I specifically would like to point out that Angel, I thought was hilarious. He definitely transcended the language barrier for me, and I could tell that he was very, very funny regardless. And that's really all I have to say about Extraterrestrial. Unfortunately, I didn't love it. I thought it was okay. Definitely some funny parts, and I can appreciate the movie as a whole, the situations, all of that, but it didn't drag me in, and when it tried to, it let me go because the pacing was a little bit off. But now I'm going to talk about just a little bit of spoilerish stuff that I did enjoy about the movie, and so if you have not seen Extraterrestrial, do not watch the rest of this review because I'm going to spoil some little bits, I guess, from the movie. Go check out Extraterrestrial, and then you can come back and watch the rest. So the one thing I'd like to talk about is the aspect of, and this is where it kind of dragged me in and then let me go, like I said, was the idea that Angel could be an alien, and how he was kind of suggesting that, and he was like, his car wasn't there, and he's like lying and saying that the guy was lying, and then he was lying. I don't know. I really enjoyed all of that, sort of the web of lies, and that's where I started to get invested. I literally like sat up in my chair like, okay, now it's getting good. And then it drops off a little bit, unfortunately. But I definitely appreciate all of that stuff, kind of the confusion back and forth. And overall, like I said, I didn't think it was bad, I just didn't think it was great. So let me know in the comments what you thought of Extraterrestrial. Let me know if you've seen Time Crimes, if you're a fan, what you thought of this. Could you feel sort of that similar feeling from Time Crimes in this like I could? Let me know what you thought of the acting, and if you speak the language, maybe you can help me out and tell me what you think, if you think they did a good job or not, and hopefully you understand what I mean when I say that I can't fully gauge it because I don't understand the language. Let me know anything that you want about Extraterrestrial, and that's pretty much it.